Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Enjoying your wine and your beer and conversation, which is great. This is such a great event. I'd like to thank Richie and George and the Vendasta staff for inviting me down today to speak on winning and continue to win in today's age. And I'm going to put a little different spin on it today, that being more traditional over the past 20 years, it was a different path. A lot went on before I got into the digital age and as marketing evolved and so forth. So you just don't get to the winning position, as the slide will say. And I never use slides, and actually George, if he's around, will actually probably laughing right now, because I go into my meetings, again, more traditional and having conversations with people and so forth. So you just don't land on top of the mountain. It takes time, it takes effort to achieve that goal. And then once you're there, it's what you do with it. So there we go. So in the beginning, when I was younger, actually I grew up in Saskatoon, obviously, and I was actually on a football scholarship down in the States, and I got hurt and came back to Saskatoon, and I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I was kind of a lost soul. And then a very good family friend of mine, when I started working at the Patricia Hotel, which I see some familiar faces around here, that I won't get into those stories because that'll be after the presentation. But we had a conversation about what I wanted to do with my career. Like, where did I want to, what was my ideal result, what was my passion, and what was my drive. And while I was working at the Pat, I kind of grew within that company and became night manager and general manager, and it had all the facets of business. We had a hotel, we had a youth hostel, we had a beverage room, which again, a few of you will remember or not remember. Then there was change, and we had an expansion and a design, and I was able to be a part of the design and the beer store design and so forth. So I kind of evolved within, and I kind of grew my brand within one company. Still not really knowing what my ultimate direction was, but I thought probably the best thing to do right now, being in one of the busiest bars back then, was to build my portfolio of people, start building relationships. So challenging the status quo. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. It was kind of, I had to determine why I wanted to do it. So making a difference. I got involved in my community, sat on a lot of charity boards, and just started to treat people how I wanted to be treated. So, and then determine, like, what level did I want to be at? Did I want to be, again, the status quo, or challenging the status quo and be great at what I did when I eventually found out what I wanted to do? So I had to get the necessary intangibles. So obviously working the Pat gave me experience and knowledge. And then while still working the Pat, I got back into university. I took night classes to get my commerce degree. And the people that I met along the way, one of which was my first contract as a marketing consultant, was Darcy Baird, chief of Whitecap, which I'm sure a lot of you actually saw in the news today, signing a very influential agreement. He was my first consulting contract to go over, and we built the sports center together. We built the gas station together, and then eventually I did all the pre-feasibility and the marketing for the golf course. Today, I'm still working with Darcy. The next phase is the hotel, so that's 20 years later. So we developed that relationship. When you talk about winning and continue to win, a 20-year relationship in business is very substantial. So that was kind of my first feather in my cap. So kind of scaling back a bit, it was all about building those relationships, building that trust, building that reputation in a good way, and then obviously getting to that final plateau of success. So along the way, in those 20 years, I left the pad, I had a game plan, so I actually became a golf pro, as Richie alluded to, and I am a terrible putter. I'm horrible. But I taught golf to put myself through university. I still worked at the pad and went to university. My mom thought I was crazy. She actually still thinks I'm crazy, but along that way, I was very, very fortunate to, again, when I thought about building relationships, my portfolio of people, which would be my network. And to this day, that was the most valuable thing I ever did, besides obviously going to university, was to surround myself with great people and build my network of people. So in sports, I was fortunate enough to play football, become a golf pro, meet a lot of sports celebrities that I still contact. I actually met my favorite hockey player, Steve Yzerman, and we golfed together, and we're still friends to this day. In business, I was all about taking businesses from the ground level and helping them build and achieve their goals. As I was alluding to earlier, when I figured out what I wanted to do is basically to help people and help people that wanted to be entrepreneurs own their own business and get to that status. I taught SIT, which is just across the alley here. They started up their own business program, and I actually taught Introduction to Marketing and their golf management program for 5 years. Like I said, I was involved with the Dakota Dunes Golf Course. I opened a couple restaurants, which I designed and developed and opened, and then built those to a successful business stature. Then things started to change. So 20 years later, so 3 years ago, everything started to evolve. There was marketing mayhem, thanks to Brendan King, actually. Thanks, Brendan. So my world went for a loop because I was traditional. I was 20 years, and all of a sudden, words like SEO, geofencing, geotargeting, and I'm like, I'm done. I have no clue what I'm going to do. I'm thinking Burger King nighttime drive-through manager. I don't know. So I had a choice to make, and that was the change. So when you talk about, again, like getting to that winning position and then maintaining it and obviously growing, so to continue to win, I had choices to make. So instead of fighting it, I partnered with them, and they've been amazing. I am by no means a digital expert, but what I do have is the traditional values that will always maintain from this point forward. And it's about your network, building relationships, building that trust. When I go into meetings, I'm having conversations with people. I'm not pitching. I don't come in with a deck and say, hey, this is what we have. Do you want to buy a watch? You want to buy encyclopedias? I go in and I have conversations about where they were, what their vision was, what drove them to become an entrepreneur, to open up their own business, finding common ground. Because then if that common ground is found, there's a trust. No matter what I'm selling, and I'm not a salesman either, they're going to like me and they're going to trust me. So meeting one, there is no pitch. It's a conversation. Then they leave the meeting going, wow, he didn't try and sell me anything. Guess what? They like me. So as I told George, and I know he laughs about it, I can go in with no deck, no pitch, no presentation, 7 times out of 10, and I come out with a client because they trust me. So it's worked. So traditional, now with digital, is a great combination. So the fear for me has subsided, and now, like my slide says, it's about getting on the same page with the business owner, creating that short-term immediate success, because that's what people are looking for. They want to move, they want to start moving, but again, longevity. And then that getting to that ideal result, which is driving traffic, making phone calls to your website, to your doorway, ideal result achieved, conversion into money, we're making profit, we're growing. So now I continue to learn a lot every day, and I appreciate everything that my partners at Vendasta do, because I drive them absolutely crazy daily. I continue to teach with my clients, and I have to evolve because with the digital age, it's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to change. Traditional will still exist, thank goodness. So there'll still be those one-on-one conversations, and then we grow together. It's a partnership. So I'm very, very fortunate to have done what I've done to this point and making that decision to move with the times instead of fall behind. And now I'm having the best time of my life. So it's great that you can walk away from a business when a project completes itself and say, I helped them get there. So I know I'm rambling now, so thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the conversations, and we'll see you soon.